Today's Morning Juice. Sports, insight, and great storytelling. Starring Bobby Carpenter and Jeff Tito Thitoff. It's time to attack and dominate.
Attack and dominate on a Wednesday. That is on the agenda. I'm Tito, Jeff Thitoff. My left, Bobby Carpenter. Bodie Wells, as always, keeping us in line as much as he can. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, sir. How are we doing today?
Doing all right. We're going to get basketball, Bob. We're going to get baseball, Bob, today. What are we going to get today?
I watched a little basketball yesterday.
Did you see what Bam Adebayo did?
Did not.
For the Miami Heat last night.
I'm not watching NBA right now.
That's fine. Scored 83 points.
It's good for him.
Second most in NBA history against the Washington Wizards. He went to the free throw line, Bob, 43 times. He was 36 out of 43. Yes, 36 out of 40. I think both of those are a record. I know 36 is much about the 43, but I know 36 is a record, that's for sure. And that's the extent of our NBA talk today, so congratulations, Bam. Morning Juice sponsored by Riverside Bank in Dublin. 2 full hours here on YouTube, the Fan app, and you can download the show anytime and catch us from 10 a.m. to noon on 10 TV Plus. Facebook and Twitter today, Bode?
Yep.
All right, we're good safety then. Okay, thank you. Big show lined up for you today. Lots of talk about Ohio State football. They had their first practice yesterday. Bob, boots on the ground there for Morning Juice on behalf of Morning Juice, right?
Me?
Yeah, you were down there for part of it, right?
Not on behalf of Morning Juice.
Who you there on behalf of?
Myself.
But you're going to share it with us, right?
I don't know if I would. I'll talk about it. I don't know if I would say I was down there on behalf of Morning Juice.
Bob, just for branding, just say it is.
No, it's not how it's going to work.
Okay, well, whatever. It's fine.
That's not part of my job description to be down there.
I know it's not part of your job description, but you're going to share stuff with us.
Yeah, well,
Nuggets.
You make it sound like I'm down there working and taking sound.
That's
not happening.
You were taking sound with your ears. You weren't recording it though, but you heard some stuff.
Yeah, I watched some things. I heard some things, and
that's all we need, Bob.
I got some. I've got some nuggets, but saying I'm down there on behalf of something. I enjoy the fact that there's not embellished. I mean,
lied.
I don't know that there was any on-air personalities that were down there when all of them had the opportunity.
Wait, you told me I had the opportunity?
You could submit for a media credential and go in.
Do you think they would give me one?
I don't know why they wouldn't.
There we go. Okay, Bob, that's all I needed to hear now. That's all. I'm glad you said that. I'm going to start submitting for stuff. I hope they will let me in. I do. I'm being serious here. I didn't know how exclusive it was.
There was 55 people, so maybe more. I mean, it was packed.
Okay.
Now, you only get to stay for the media portion of it, but there's no reason why they wouldn't let you in. Right. I mean, there are a lot of other slaps in there, so I can't imagine them not letting you in.
That sounds almost personal there, Bob. A lot of those slaps in
listen,
there. But you're saying I'm as good or better than some of those slaps.
Oh, I mean, you working here should give you some degree of credibility. Right. Maybe not attained independently, but through your occupation and your work relationship.
Throwing a lot of big words I don't understand, Bob. I'll take it as disrespect. We will have Austin Ward on at 7:23. He was one of the slaps that were there as well. Also, we got NFL talk as well, but we will hear from Ryan Day in the 7 o'clock hour. Yesterday, Bob, in the Big Ten basketball tournament, I know you're excited about this.
I watched some of these.
Maryland, Oregon. Did you watch some of that?
Yeah.
70-60. Maryland was routing Oregon 33-12 at the half. And then Northwestern beat Penn State 76-66 in those first-round games. Today, jam-packed, Bob. Maryland, Iowa, noon. USC, Washington, 2:30. Northwestern, Indiana, 6:30. And then Rutgers, Minnesota at 9. Those are all the second games. Each one of the 2:30 and 9 o'clock games are contingent on when the first game ends because that's when they will start their other ones. Cavs at the Magic tonight. Last night in the NHL, CBJ beat Tampa Bay 5-2. They're at Florida on Thursday. They are still in the same spot they were before because they did not make up any ground on Boston or Pittsburgh, or the Islanders, I should say. In the World Baseball Classic, did you watch any of this, Bob?
America was not playing.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, USA played? What time?
I don't know what time it was, but they lost to Italy. They were down 6-0.
We lost to Italy?
Bob, listen, Bob, we lost 8-6 to Italy.
I thought when we beat Mexico that we were basically cruising into the deal.
We were down 8-0
against Italy.
Yes, came back and made it 8-6. Team USA might not make it to the next round, Bob. They might be eliminated depending on what happens today. Italy plays Mexico, and if Italy defeats Mexico, U.S. is in. If they have a high-scoring game, regardless who wins, I'm not sure what the exact number is, but a high-scoring game, regardless of what happens. Like, both teams score a lot of runs. USA is in because of the run differential tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So the U.S. has a chance still, but as of right now, they're on the ropes.
On the bubble?
Yes. So
I thought when we beat Mexico, we were a shoo-in at that point. I didn't realize that they were playing last night, and maybe it's because they were playing Italy, so I didn't think it was that significant of an event.
right. And you're not alone, Bob, in thinking that the U.S. had it wrapped up. The manager, who's the manager of the WBC team? Mark, okay, that's the wrong guys. I can't remember. Mark, I don't want to say DeRosa, but I don't think that's it. Anyway, he came out and he said before the game he thought that the United States already had a berth wrapped up. And he apologized afterwards, saying, "Yeah, I got it wrong on my information. We don't have it wrapped up, but yeah." So the USA now is waiting for this.
Mark DeRosa, you're correct.
Mark DeRosa, okay. They're waiting to see what happens now with Italy, Mexico, before they can figure out if they're going to make it to the next round or not. Also, Bob, and I will apologize in advance. I get my timelines screwed up. Sometimes I see a name that used to do this, and I think, oh, that guy, okay. But I can't remember which years it was. When was Mark Snyder DC at Ohio State? Did you play for Mark Snyder?
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Snyder was named, according to Bruce Feldman, is going to be named head coach at Shawnee State.
Yeah, he texted me yesterday about it.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
That's cool. So,
he's from Ironton. It makes sense.
And Cameron Johnston, former opponent for Ohio State, signed by the Steelers yesterday. And Cam Hayward re-upped with the Steelers for 2 years. It's like $32.5 million, $16.5 million guaranteed. So it's probably a one-year deal. Cam's getting up there in age. But another former Buckeye, though, now staying with the team he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, all right, Bob. Yeah, I know you love doing this. Make me smarter.
Time to get smarter. Morning Juice presents Today in History. Here's your professor, Bobby Carpenter.
Beefy day today, Bob?
Not so beefy.
Will I get to sing?
I hope. No, you don't get to sing anymore. Okay? That's going to be something we're not going to partake in.
We can do that on Monday. We'll talk about it on Monday.
No. Why Monday? We have 2 more days this week and today.
That's because show meeting.
We're not getting into that in the show meeting. We're gonna start tempering down the singing. It is Wednesday, March 11th, the 70th day of the year. 295 days remaining in this 2026. This date 1967. Love Is Here and Now You're Gone by the Supremes. Hits number 1. There we go. 1973 years later, Aquarius and Let the Sun Shine In by Fifth Dimension wins the Grammy for Album of the Year. We talked about that.
It's just
we talked
a little
about
bit, Bob.
No. I said, listen, it wasn't. This is the problem. You have your inability to follow directions, like my children. When you say no, that means not a little bit, not any at all.
You said we're going to temper it.
No, I didn't. You said that. I said we're not going to do it anymore. This date, 1985. Actually, check that. This date, 1979. Randy Hold becomes the first player with 67 penalty minutes in an NHL game, which, just for the record, is only 60 minutes long. 1985. Mikhail Gorbachev replaces Chernenko as the Soviet premier. And in 1986, the NFL adopts instant replay for the first time.
Through the body.
Possessed the football before it went out. It's touchdown.
So the use of the instant replay on the 3rd play from scrimmage in the new year already. The new rule in the National Football League, use of a instant replay official, has given the Browns a touchdown on an otherwise very confusing play.
Dick, in 31 games where they used the instant replay, they only reversed 2 plays. They would have reversed another one, but they couldn't get a hold of the officials. And here, within seconds of our opener, we have a critical call that results in a touchdown for the Browns.
There we go. The first time it went through, it took forever and was very cumbersome. They got rid of it and then obviously had brought it back later and much more successful, I would say. Technology obviously helps out a lot with that. This date, 1987, Huey Lewis in the News. Jacob's Ladder hits number 1.
Higher and higher.
Did you like Huey Lewis and the News?
Bob, they were one of my favorite bands when I was growing up.
It's funny. There's one of our reporters in Dallas hated Huey Lewis and the News. Romo would play him all the time, and he goes, "They're terrible now, and they were terrible then." Like, oh, I mean, the public at large would beg to differ with you, Dennis, but he didn't want to.
Working for a Living was a great song when they first came out.
I'm not debating.
Do you believe in love? And then sports.
I like Huey Lewis and the News.
And 4?
They're not one of my favorites, but they've got some. They got 4 or 5 songs that I always turn. Like if they're on, I'll be happy that it came through.
I don't think Huey does much anymore. I think he's got an ear problem. He's got a hearing problem where it's hard for him to go out there and sing.
Some other news of the day. 1987, Gretzky scores his 1,500th point in the NHL. And then in 1991, Monica Seles and Steffi Graf's streak of 186 weeks as the women's world number 1. Some birthdays today. Rupert Murdoch turning 95, the Fox News creator, media mogul. Apparently, Succession was loosely based off his family and life.
Yeah. Wow. He's got a heck of a family then.
Well, that was the point. Born on this day, 1936, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia passed away in 2016. John Thompson III, former Georgetown head coach, not very successful, but more successful than Patrick Ewing.
Low bar to clear.
Neither one of them is successful as his father, John Thompson II, but he turned 60 today. Lisa Loeb, turning 58, the singer of Stay. And the guy that they call the jackass, Mr. Johnny Knoxville, turning 55.
I'm Johnny Knoxville. I'm Johnny Knoxville. My name's Johnny Knoxville. Hello, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
I miss stunts, but, I've talked to many doctors, my neurologists, and they're like, I've had too many concussions already, and I can't have one more concussion. I think I got a little addicted to it, to the point where, I scrambled my brains.
Can't have one more concussion. I don't think those doctors could definitively say that one more concussion was going to substantively change his life.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I feel like he probably
maybe he
crossed that threshold
bingo
a while ago.
And there was probably a point where he had already crossed it. And so that's the point. Like one more. That's a lie, Johnny. Just say, I'm in pretty bad shape. This might make it worse.
Just do what Billy Idol did. Just go to heroin.
No, he went from heroin to crack.
Oh, crack. You're right. Yeah,
crack got him off the heroin.
You're right. Go to crack. I'm sorry. You're right.
That's the
Don't
solution.
take my advice on drug rehabilitation.
Absolutely not. Bobby Abreu, the 2-time All-Star, turning 52 today. He was a juicer, wasn't he?
I believe he was.
Just about everybody was.
Yeah, I think he was.
Elton Brand, the former Duke star, and I believe, is he running?
I think the Sixers still.
The Sixers.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Yeah, there you go.
Turning 47 today. And Joel Madden turning 47, the lead singer of Good Charlotte.
And I don't ever wanna be you. Don't wanna be just like you. Oh, what I'm saying is this is the anthem. Throw all your hands up, you. Don't wanna be you.
Oh, the punk rock scene, Bodie. Big in my late high school and early college years. Pretty darn good. Lee Evans, former Buffalo Bills receiver, turning 45 today.
You hate him?
Why would I hate Lee Evans?
Was he the one who caught the pass?
Yeah. Why would I hate him for doing his job?
I would hate him because I hate him.
That's fine. I mean, it wasn't like, well, I don't love him, but I respect him as a player. He was really good. And because he caught a pass against us that broke up our undefeated season in 2023, he ran a nice route. Chris Gamble bid on it. That's the facts of life.
Gamble slipped.
He didn't slip. He may have slipped, but that's not why the touchdown occurred. He had jumped on a route he shouldn't have been jumping on.
I know my truth.
I was on the field, right in front of it.
I was close, though.
That's fine. You can say that he slipped, but that's not the reason of why it happened. The man he refers to himself as Third Leg Greg. It's one of the stars of the 7th Floor Club, 2-time All-Pro. Now, is he on Fox? Is he on CBS?
Fox,
He's
yeah.
still on Fox?
Yeah, because Brady
came back.
kicked him
I
off
didn't
the
know
top
if he
spot.
went to if he went over to CBS.
I'm pretty sure he's still on Fox.
I believe he is. Fox's second team, turning 41 today, Mr. Greg Olson.
Play clock winding down. They get the play off. Newton steps up, goes for the end zone. Olsen, touchdown! How about that? Another 80-yard touchdown drive. End zone. Olsen, leaping catch for the touchdown.
Great ball placement, but Greg Olson's been making plays like that ever since he arrived here in Carolina.
I was hoping we'd have some of the 7th Floor Club in there.
Yeah, I did play it yesterday, and I was like, it might be a few too many bleeps in this. So
It's all right, but that's, listen, that was his. I'm surprised he didn't get a Grammy for that, to tell you the truth. He gets so mad when people bring it up now, and I'm like, well, that's why you don't do stupid things and record them. You can do dumb things, just don't document it.
Yeah, or own it.
Or own
Somebody
it.
asks you about it, be like, yeah.
I was a young, dumb
previous
kid,
life.
did some stupid things. I have a couple kids now. Hopefully they don't find out about the 7th Floor Club, although it's widely accessible via the internet.
Yeah.
Probably took you how much to find it? Too much time? Less than a minute?
Yeah, by far.
The more famous he gets, the worse
Yeah.
it is, worse it becomes. If he just would have drifted into obscurity, I don't think it would have been an issue.
Yeah.
But now that he's up on Fox, they might play that as his bump back music coming back in.
Be amazing.
What's your name, G. Reg? What do you do? Well, that's up to you, Greg. Some passings today. Jimmy Greenspoon passing on this date, 2015, the lead singer of Three Dog Night, or one of the band members of Three Dog Night, rather. Passing away in 2006, Slobodan Milosevic, former Serbian leader. That's some nice genocide on the folks over there. If you've ever watched the classic movie Behind Enemy Lines,
Okay.
it's Owen Wilson's debut and probably finale as an action star.
Okay.
Gene Hackman is in it, though, playing a sweet naval captain, as he did for a number of movies, with Crimson Tide being another one of them. I still can't believe I enjoyed Owen Wilson as an acting star, or as an action star. A little bit of comedic relief in there as well, but Slobodan, it's about them going in there and finding out what was going on as Yugoslavia is breaking up, and some genetic cleansing or ethnic cleansing was going on there with the Serbs killing the Croatians. Maybe there's a lot of different groups in there going on, but they were murdering people and throwing them in the mass graves. It was not a great situation.
Yeah, fair to say.
So the USA got involved and did some deal with it. But passing away in this date, 1955, he has a way with BOLOGNA, Mr. Oscar Mayer.
Oh, I'd love to be.
Why don't you sing along with this, Jeff? This is kind of your scene.
That is what I truly like to be.
That's-
'Cause if I
Was an Oscar Mayer wiener.
I can get behind this. Can we dress you up?
If they would do it, OSCAR. What? OSCARMEYER. That's what I want to be. AYER. Whatever. You're right. It's not Herb Meyer. It's Oscar Mayer. Good call.
He has a way with BOLOGNA.
Dude, it's a great
Bologna.
commercial. Did you watch the commercial?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it.
I don't know if I did or not, to be honest with you. I can't even remember if it actually showed the commercial or if that was just.
Did you just pull that from your playlist?
Yeah.
Just got off his phone.
One of your
yeah.
workout playlists. Some holidays and observances today. It is 3/11 Day. It is Debunking Day. Johnny Appleseed Day. National Immune System Day, which is ironic because it's also the COVID-19 global pandemic day. I believe on this date, whatever 2020, the World Health Organization declared it like officially an outbreak.
After Rudy Gobert licked microphones.
Yeah, I did omit that. I don't want to go back to that time. Sofrito Day, how about that? And World Plumbing Day. And those, your historical events, your birthdays, your passings, your holidays, observances for this date, Wednesday, March 11th, the 70th day of the year, 295 days remaining in this 2026.
Well done as always, General. You know, you see those things around the holidays, like people put out weird things. You've heard of Elf on a Shelf. Now you hear of this, like some kind of weird thing. I've got an idea for a Christmas decoration for this upcoming year. Tito on a Frito.
How do we get that?
I'm just saying, I think we'd make that. It's like a Christmas decoration thing. You put it on your tree if you want to. Or, I don't know, if you're Jewish, you can put it on something else.
Tito eats a Frito.
I don't like Fritos.
I find that hard to believe.
Honestly, I do not like Fritos. I honestly do not like Fritos.
Really?
Yes. If I'm hungry,
you don't like corn, like a nice, delicious corn chip like that.
I don't like Fritos. I'm not a Frito guy, Bob. Just not my style. Maybe my wife put it in recipes too, like the lemon pepper I didn't know about yesterday. But as far as I know,
you'd be able to identify a Frito somewhere.
I think I would too. I just don't like Fritos. It's not my choice.
Gosh, do you like Fritos, Bodie?
Yeah. I mean, it's not my favorite chip.
Yeah, but I'm never going to say no to a Frito.
Yeah. Here we go, boys. Another bracket. Let's do it. Best chips. Stretch it out.
And the what else were we doing? Oh, the wing flavor.
The wing flavor.
Is that just a different region or a whole new bracket?
Oh, that's a great. This again, Bob. You won't be here Monday, but that's a Monday show meeting topic. Though we can talk about that. Coming up next.
Well, first, let's go to these World Baseball Classic.
Okay.
So, USA moves, like you said, if Italy beats Mexico, because that would make USA 3-1, Mexico be 4-0. The top, or Italy be 4-0, Mexico 2-2. Top two teams advance. Head-to-head tiebreakers wouldn't be as bad, but like you mentioned, if Mexico beats Italy, you get a three-way tie. They are not simple. It comes down, like you said, to runs scored, the lowest quotient of fewest runs allowed, divided by the number of defensive outs recorded in the game between the teams that are tied. So you take the fewest runs, then divide that by the outs of whatever game that would be. The lowest, which I don't understand that, outs recorded in a game between those two. It's 27. Is there a way to...
There's three, but because when Mexico played the United States, I think the United States didn't have to bat in the ninth inning, so there were only 24 outs. That's why it's a little different.
I guess in theory, too, you could have extra innings, which would add
also, yes.
to it. Okay, so that works in the United States' favor then, correct?
That part does, yes.
Because they were the home team, didn't have to come up. They were already winning. Lowest quotient of fewest runs earned allowed by the number of defensive outs recorded in games between the teams that are tied. It looks like it's the exact same thing, but it's not.
Explain it to me like I'm 5, Bob.
Oh, I'm trying
That's
to
why it's
understand
important that the U.S. scored 6 runs. They came back after being down 8-0 against Italy and made it 8-6. It was important for them to score those runs to change that metric.
Lowest quotient of fewest runs earned. So then it goes defensively, then it goes to offense, runs earned. I was like, where is the difference in this? And then here you go. Here's the third tiebreaker. Highest batting average in games in that round between the teams that are tied. Fourth, a drawing of lots.
There we go. Let's get
Let's just get to the craps table, buddy. Let's go to straight gambling on this because that's the way we're going to decide who's better.
Coming up next, some big news in the NFL. What was a big trade is now a big non-trade. We'll do that next. Morning Juice.
The madness is on, and the deals are going full court at Germain Toyota of Columbus. Drive home the Powerhouse 2026 Tundra at 2.99% APR for up to 72 months and $1,000 Toyota financial cash. That's a slam dunk offer. Or you can drive home in the always reliable 2026 Camry LE for just $269 a month for 36 months, 10,000 miles a year, and $36.99 due at signing. Don't sit on the sidelines. Hustle into Germain Toyota of Columbus on the corner of I-70 and Bryce Road or online at germaintoyota.net.
What does it mean to give 100%? It means giving everything you've got, every single day. That's why the V Foundation gives 100% of every dollar donated directly to cancer research. So no matter what you give, we give 100% for life-saving research victories, 100% to making new discoveries that lead to innovative treatments, 100% to groundbreaking cancer research that could one day save someone you love. We know cancer research is working. Over the last 30 years, an estimated 4.5 million lives have been saved thanks to game-changing research breakthroughs. But there is more work to do. That's why the V Foundation gives 100% of every dollar donated directly to cancer research. We will always give 100% to accelerate victory over cancer.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Donate today at V.org.
Once there was a man who couldn't stand.
A mom who couldn't wait.
A scientific community that said it couldn't be done.
And then you.
And then I.
And then we.
Brought neuromuscular disease into screaming color with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
For 75 years, our voices have thundered through the halls of Congress.
We've willed the impossible into existence.
We've pushed the science,
Raised the funds.
Shifted the narrative.
And transformed the reality of life with neuromuscular diseases.
For 75 years, we've built communities together.
established the field of neuromuscular medicine,
and made it thrive.
Call that a legacy.
Call it impact.
Call it momentum.
Just call it ours.
Because it's the generations of community heroes that give MDA the strength we have today.
And until neuromuscular disease is a thing of the past, you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
Wounded Warrior Project helps post 9/11 veterans and their families realize what's possible. With support and resources that bring warriors together and empower them to become stronger, both inside and out.
It's possible to begin healing.
To get the help you need.
To find peace. And as each warrior's needs evolve, so do we. Because these last 20 years are just the beginning. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
One man is a national champion, NFL veteran, and local business leader. The other man is Tito. This is Morning Juice.
Sponsored by Riverside Bank of Dublin.
Here's Bobby and Tito.
Bob, big news yesterday in the NFL. The Ravens, who had initially agreed to trade 2 first-round picks to the Las Vegas Raiders for Maxx Crosby, have now backed out of the deal.
This is amazing.
Reports are this because he failed a physical. Okay.
Have Albert Breer on tomorrow to outline it a little more, but he had some insightful tweets into this.
Yes, he did.
If you didn't understand it.
So all the deals we've talked about the last couple of days have been deals that were agreed upon, not deals.
They couldn't sign them.
They couldn't sign them until today at 4 o'clock when the new league year starts. So the Raiders made moves believing they had an extra first-round pick in the next 2 years and more cap space than they would have had without Crosby there. Or with Crosby there. With Crosby there, they'd have less cap space. And now they find out on Tuesday night that they now have to absorb Crosby's salary again, barring something else happening, and they do not have those extra first-round picks. There are some conspiracy theorists out there that think that it was by design by the Ravens because the thinking now at this point in time, the fact he hasn't signed anywhere yet, they could get Trey Hendrickson at a price that's around what Crosby's making and keep their first-round picks.
Yeah, that's possible.
I would not put it past a team to do something like that.
It's bad business practice to do that.
It is if it can be proved. You
People
know what I mean?
know.
You think people in the NFL are well aware? Oh,
failing a physical isn't like binary across the league. There are teams that will still trade for Maxx Crosby.
Sure.
It was the fact that they had traded for him, had that, and then they probably had buyer's remorse, realizing that they could have gotten Trey Hendrickson, who maybe isn't quite as good as Max.
Right.
Maybe a little bit older.
Sure.
But they could get him at probably a better functional deal, and they don't have to give up their draft capital because he hadn't been signed yet. And so they probably got cold feet, backed out, and they're like, oh, wait. They knew he had surgery. They knew about all that stuff. Like, those things are out there. There's going to be a team that is going to clear Maxx Crosby on a physical. Like, that's just going to happen. So it's kind of ridiculous that they would do that. Like, it's bad business practice because then people will not want to do deals with you anymore.
And the fact that now, the Raiders and Ravens have agreed to terms with people.
Yeah.
They haven't signed it yet. And I know the Raiders have tons of cap space. They do. They have a lot of cap space in there. And so it's not like this is going to make them rescind deals with people necessarily. But
it's how you're building your team and how you're constructing it and what you're what you're planning on doing. Now they have to go back to the table, and there's already teams that have probably started signing guys. There's less teams that might be in the market for them. Maybe the deals that were previously out there are no longer out there for Maxx Crosby as far as them being able to trade him because they were under the assumption that trade was going to be going through.
I think
it's a crappy deal by Baltimore. I'm telling you, nobody, and this will follow the people that were involved in this. People will not trust them to do deals anymore.
And now the Raiders will get less than 2 first-round picks
Yeah, because they
for
were the
Maxx
only
Crosby.
team that was offering 2
Right.
first-round picks.
I think with Dallas, we said that the Dallas Bodies offered a first and a second, and the Ravens turned that, or the Raiders turned that down. Now, I don't know if the Cowboys will revisit it now after making that trade with the Packers for Gary, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens now, because there was the big thing, like, the goodbyes and all that. I guess Crosby had met.
He was in Baltimore. Like,
Yeah.
he went there, had his, like, they knew what they were getting. It wasn't like he has some mysterious injury or something there, and they're going to
Right.
try to couch, the knee was worse than we thought. Listen, man, like, it is what it is. Like, they backed out on a deal that they didn't want to do.
His agent said he's ahead of schedule in his rehab, and that he'll be fine when camp opens up and all this stuff when the camps get going. But I wonder if someone's going to jump in now, because I got to believe before 4:00 today, the Raiders are going to be trying like hell to trade him still, because they've already done their goodbyes.
They had calculated on
Yeah.
that. Like, that was part of what their plan was moving forward, was to trade Maxx Crosby. That's why they traded him.
Can this be proven that the Ravens did this way? Like, I don't know if it can be.
No. People know.
Right.
They know in league circles. What are you going to do? Like, file a grievance with the league on it?
Well, that's what I was
They're going to
thinking,
say,
like-
well, his knee was worse than we thought, or whatever. His surgery was more significant. Whatever. They can couch it in anything.
Right.
And then the argument's going to be like, well, other teams cleared him. Well, their doctors aren't as good as ours. Okay. Anybody can say no. You could fail a guy for just about anything.
Right.
Like, it's not a difficult thing to do. It's a function of what is your risk tolerance relative to how much you're giving up compensation-wise as far as payment, or in this case, payment and draft capital.
Because I wondered if, like, there would be any kind of, if there would, and like I said, Bob, I think it's impossible to prove, and you just affirmed that, but it's, if I was wondering if there'd be repercussions from the league on this as a penalty for the Ravens.
No, there won't be any repercussions like across the league formally, but the repercussions are going to be no one's going to want to do business with them again.
Yeah.
A lot of this is dealt with trust and handshakes, especially when, like, you got a clear physical. Okay, well, is there anything really wrong with them? Like, okay, they know, they've played, they've seen the film.
Right.
They knew what they were getting.
So we should, at least according to reports, Hendrickson was going to announce his destination today. But I don't know now. Like, it feels like the Ravens are going to push hard for Hendrickson.
I hope he doesn't go there.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bob. I'm with you on that. Yes.
I hope they get screwed. Since they thought they were the one doing the screwing, hopefully they get the reversal on it, and they're the ones getting pounded.
The Patriots, I wonder if the Raiders would deal with them now after, it was.
Here's the thing. I mean, if you want to move on from them, you'll take what you can get.
Right.
It was easy for Tom to say we're not going to deal with New England when you had Baltimore lined up.
Right.
If they're the best offer, then you'll take their best offer.
Yesterday we talked about Tua, and I'm not comparing the impact on the locker room or the why the Dolphins chose to get rid of Tua or cut Tua because of what the other impacts could have been, but is it kind of like that, though, with Crosby? Like the fact that they've already said their goodbyes. Davis and Crosby met a couple of months ago, and I guess they met at Crosby's home. And according to reports, had a great meeting, and both decided at the end.
Cut together.
He went out there and they talked about things and talked about directions of the franchise.
Went to P.F. Chang's.
Yes, and then they both agreed at the end of the meeting that it's best if they just sever ties and they move on.
It's not you, it's me.
Right. So is that part of this also, though, Bob? Like the fact they've gone through all of this already?
Not that he can't come back and play another year for him, but they came to that conclusion that it was best to not do that. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board to see what they can get for him.
Yeah, the Ravens were one of the favorites, I believe, in the Super Bowl to make the Super Bowl, to win the AFC, I guess what it was, after that trade. Now I'm curious what the odds will do, curious like Whiskers, what the odds will change, how they'll change based on this Crosby thing not going through. But the Ravens still desperately need an edge rusher, and that's what I'm saying. Hendrickson, I wonder what happened with him, if he will end up being with the Ravens when it's all said and done. But I want to see what kind of compensation the Raiders will get, because like you said, Bob, it won't be a 1-1.
No one else was offering
Right.
a 1-1. So why would someone up their offer now? Unless there's teams that missed or whiffed and they feel like, man, we're desperate now. We got to go.
And I would imagine if Hendrickson goes to a non-Ravens team, that also will impact then what can be offered for Crosby. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know which one needs to happen first. Is it better for Hendrickson if Crosby gets traded again first, or better for Crosby if Hendrickson signs first?
Well, you want to have people off the market, I think, always, because that's going to drive your value, scarcity. It's a supply and demand principle.
Right.
And there's the less people that are available, assuming there's still a demand for it, you're good. Now, if there's less people available and the demand is now dropped, well, then that's a whole other issue entirely.
Geno Smith's back with the Jets, Bobby.
I saw that. If the Jets could just re-sign all of their guys they let leave that are now playing well other places, they'd have a pretty good team.
Yeah, I saw that list where, like, Geno Smith drafted, I think, 2013 by the Jets. And then they had Geno Smith 2013 and listed every Jets quarterback since then. And now they're back to Geno Smith again, which I thought was funny. Almost funny as the Browns jersey with all the quarterbacks on it. But Geno Smith, though, going there, look, he's obviously not the long-term answer there. He's still a bridge, right?
It's 35, Jeff.
Yes, he's still a bridge. But they won't get the quarterback this year. Perhaps next year they'll get him in the draft when it's a much more much deeper class among quarterbacks.
They could try to get a quarterback this year. That doesn't mean that Geno Smith's not going to play.
Sure. No, Geno Smith's going to play, yeah. But you're right. They're not going to spend the second pick in the draft on a quarterback, I guess what I'm saying. And so they'll have to get somebody who they
could draft. They've talked about taking Ty Simpson. Don't they have 2 picks?
Do they have 2 first? Yeah, they do have 2 first. They made the trade with the Colts, right?
Yeah, people have talked about them taking that second first-round pick and taking Ty Simpson. They could always draft one of the other guys at the top of the second round. I mean, there's options there.
No, they got room. They're not going to spend the second pick, as well as saying on a quarterback, though, because there's not a bona fide quarterback worthy of the second pick, I guess, this year, based on everything I'm reading from what teams are looking for. I don't think there's
no one's taking a second quarterback in the top half of the first round.
All right, coming up next, Bodie takes over. Quick hitters, Morning Juice.
I always tell people I was the luckiest guy in the world. I wanted to be an Army man or a fireman, and I got to do both. As a firefighter, my job was about saving lives. I never thought one day I would be fighting for mine.
After spending his career answering the call to save others, Ken was diagnosed with ALS. Now he's facing his biggest battle, for more time. For 70 years, Muscular Dystrophy Association has been answering the call to help people live longer and more independent lives.
MDA means to me hope.
MDA is leading the way for people living with ALS, muscular dystrophy, and other neuromuscular diseases by accelerating research, advancing care, and advocating to empower families like Ken's.
I wouldn't be living as good of a life with ALS if it wasn't for MDA. MDA is helping people live stronger and love longer. Learn more at MDA.org today.
Hey guys, 13-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion Jason McCourty here. And I'm the Innovation Ambassador at FAIR, Food Allergy and Research Education. I would say the most challenging thing as a parent of a kid who has a food allergy is probably the ignorance that I myself had in the beginning. I didn't know what anaphylactic shock was. I didn't know the dangers, let alone the things that she needed to be able to have a normal life. When you go to drop your kid off, and every single time in the beginning, we'd have to go through everything she was allergic to. Preparation is everything. And me, for playing football for 13 years, it was all throughout the course of the week. It's getting ready for game day. When you're on the field, you're playing for your fans. At home, you're playing for your family. My playbook, read labels, keep it allergy friendly, and have an epinephrine nasal spray as a backup plan. Because when my family's safe from food allergens, that's the real victory. Visit foodallergy.org to learn more.
My mom is a veteran and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
If you're looking for the inside scoop on the Buckeyes, you've come to the right place. This is Morning Juice.
All right, Morning Juice. Time for Bodie to take over.
Morning Juice presents Quick Hitters.
All right, fellas, happy Wednesday. We'll start here. How about a little bit more baseball talk?
Yes.
Since being drafted with the second overall pick in the 2017 MLB draft by the Reds, Hunter Green has developed into a top-of-the-rotation stud for Cincinnati. Back in 2024, a couple years ago, he posted a 2.7 ERA in 26 starts, made his first All-Star game appearance. And then last season, despite missing several starts due to injury, he had another really strong year, 19 starts, 2.76 ERA. But as we sit here just over 2 weeks away from opening day, the Redlegs will be without their ace until at least the middle of the summer, as Green will undergo surgery today to remove bone chips and loose bodies from his right elbow. He is not expected to return until July. He also missed the entire 2019 season a handful of years ago due to, you guessed it, Tommy John surgery in April of that year. So Tito, unfortunately, this is the way of the world for really any pitcher, but especially a guy who regularly throws high 90s, topping out, even low 100s.
5 years, 5 straight stints on the IL. He had a shoulder strain in 2022, a hip injury in 2023, elbow soreness in 24, injured right groin strain in 2025, and now this. I love Hunter Green. He's a fantastic talent, but I would think, Bob, going on the IL 5 years in a row is not a good sign and not a good forecast for future availability.
It's consistency. Isn't that what everybody wants?
Yes, you're right.
You want to know what you're getting, what
That's
that
what you're
person is. And, with Hunter Green, you're getting a guy that throws really fast but is going to end up injured. So there you go. I would say, yes, it's not overly advantageous for him because, to throw another cliche at you.
Yes.
Bill Parcells, the most important ability is availability.
I would love to know why pitchers are so soft now.
Because they start throwing so much at a young age and how they start doing things and what they do to their bodies and the way that they throw.
But even though, Bob,
the catalog of pitches they throw is wider.
But there are things in place. There are measures in place at the travel baseball level, at the high school level, that limit how many pitches you can throw in a certain day, certain period.
You don't think those things are ever bent?
God, I would hope not, Bob.
They are.
But
hope is not a strategy. They are.
That's also just on
I know
game
kids
day,
I know
too.
kids that play multiple teams, and so they pitch for one team and they don't carry that count over to somewhere else.
It's so odd now to see guys after 5 innings getting pulled, either they have a shutout or a no hitter or whatever, and managers come out and grab them and say, we're going to go with the bullpen now, when it used to be like just this a badge of courage for complete games. I think Rick Langford in 1980 threw something like 16 straight complete games.
Yeah.
And there's no chance, all those pitching records, career shutouts, season shutouts, career innings pitched or whatever, all that stuff is going by the wayside now.
And nobody's
No
ever going to
chance.
win 300 games yet.
No, the 300 games thing is gone.
The closest was what's his name?
It's Verlander, I think.
Verlander, and he's not going to get there.
I don't think he will either. He'd have to pitch for another probably 3 years to get there, I think.
Have to pitch well, too.
Yeah, also pitch well enough to win. But it's, I don't know. I also wonder, is it because when these kids are specializing so young also versus playing multiple sports?
Yeah. It's the.
I think that's the number one culprit.
It's the way that they're trained and the way they're brought up. If that's all they're doing, and then these guys get Tommy John, and they're almost like, well, that's good. You get it and you get it out of the way
because you're going to get it. If you're any kind of a pitcher at all, you're going to get Tommy John at some point.
Yeah. So it's a mess. The way it's all handled.
Yeah,
so that's what you get.
It's funny when you see I know you do the state and history stuff, but things in sports history where you'll see something where Nolan Ryan threw 16 innings or whatever, 14 innings in one game, and then came back 3 days later on his regular turn and threw again. And that's kind of stuff. In fact, Nolan Ryan did what he did. For as long as he pitched and as successful as he was, how many strikeouts he had, all those things, the 6 no-hitters, 6 or 7, maybe 7 no-hitters. But anyway, that's all kind of stuff that I grew up with, and now there's no way in hell it ever gets back that way. It's disappointing.
All right, we'll move on to college football here, guys. Ask anybody who follows the sport who are the best coaches in college football today. I think you'd get about the same list of names from most people. Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Kurt Signetti. They all have national championships, so they'd lead the list there. And then the Dan Lannings, Marcus Freeman, Steve Sarkisians also would kind of be right there in that next tier. But how about the most underrated coaches in the sport? CBS Sports took a stab at ranking who they believe are the 7 most underrated coaches today in college football, and here is what they came up with. At number 1, they have Rhett Lashley at SMU. He's followed by Jeff Brom at Louisville, Kalani Sitake at BYU, Jed Fish at Washington, Josh Heupel at Tennessee, and then there's your top 5. And then at 6 and 7, they had Brent Key at Georgia Tech and Willie Fritz at Houston. Bobby, anybody on that list that really jumps out to you, or anybody you would add to the list?
Do you think Josh Heupel's really underrated? I mean, he's coaching at Tennessee. Like, they've had some success. It feels like he's kind of failed largely in some big moments. I don't know if I would define him as underrated. He's pretty well known. Maybe
to the fan base, because I think Tennessee thinks they should be Georgia, and I'm just not sure that's really reality for them. And so it's like, Tennessee wasn't too bad last year, were they?
No,
I know they made the playoff.
But their schedule was incredibly soft. They didn't
That's
beat
true. They didn't beat anybody.
They didn't beat a ranked team. I don't believe.
I don't even think they beat somebody with a winning record.
That's impressive.
It says he's lost 6 straight games against top 25 teams, including all 4 matchups last season.
Yeah, that's which I get, but I would say so in 5 years there in Knoxville, 7-6, 11-2, 9-4, 10-3, 8-5. That's kind of what Tennessee is, right? Peyton Manning, it's been a minute since he was there.
So my thing
maybe
is
he's underappreciated.
Maybe underappreciated, but I wouldn't say he's underrated.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're winning 11-2. I think people properly rate him. I think he's a good offensive coach. I don't think he's in the category of the top group. I think he's probably appropriately rated in that next tier. And so I think that's a good deal. Rhett Lashley down at SMU, I don't know if he gets the credit he deserves. What they're building, granted, he's got resources behind him, but he's still having to build a program essentially from the ground up. And they went to the ACC in their first year and were highly competitive in that thing.
Yeah, almost won the conference.
Almost
played for the conference title last year, too, if it wasn't for a late loss to Cal, if I'm not mistaken.
Late loss to Cal and a slew of tiebreakers that kept them out.
Right, yeah.
So, all those things, I'd say Rhett Lashley is someone who is getting it done and doing so at a school that isn't necessarily nationally branded to the young players the way that maybe Jeff or I think of them.
Yeah, the SMU thing went down to a tiebreak. I think they ended up going so deep down it was like runs earned versus innings played. But the SMU
that would be amazing.
That would be.
If
yes.
the ACC changed it this offseason,
Right.
It's like, here's what actually you guys hated it last year. How about this? Points given up per drive per quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go all the
game
way
control.
down. Yes.
The best game control metrics.
I just can't wait with these big conferences with everyone not playing everybody. I cannot wait. Someday, hopefully we'll get a coin flip to decide it. And what great TV that would be.
I think the Big 12 had one of those.
Had a coin flip?
A number of years back, yeah.
Wow. I must have missed that. That's fascinating to me. But SMU, you're right. SMU, Bob, and especially in my youth, but then also you remember them as well. But they were after the death penalty, and it took so long to come back from that. Because after the death penalty, it was like when they lose the program for 2 years, which nobody would do now, right? There's no chance for the death penalty in college football, is there, Bob?
No. I don't think so. There's too much money in it.
Right. But yeah, Lashley's done a great job out there. He's been 5-3 in the last 3 seasons against top 25 teams. So, and you're right, SMU. The loss to Cal is what got them out of a return to the ACC title game. But yeah, I'd say Lashley's doing the best job. I'm also impressed with Jeff Brom's been able to do throughout his career. Brom is doing well at Louisville now, and he's also
at Purdue. He did nice.
He did well there. Yeah, and they get Lincoln Keenholz this year. I'm excited to see what Lincoln can do in Louisville this year, and I hope he gets the run there, starting quarterback throughout the season.
There was one guy on the list, like I mentioned there, Jed Fish at Washington. Not sure that would have been the first Big Ten coach that came to mind for me. I
would have said Bielema before him.
Yeah, and I know he's been out of the sport for a couple years, but I still think what Pat Fitzgerald did at Northwestern is probably still under the radar. And, God, Michigan State's been bad, but it is not that long ago that they were, winning the Big Ten, but even just a few years ago with Mel Tucker, they were really strong too. So I would think he'd give them back to 8 wins a year. I mean, I feel like that's still pretty reasonable for Michigan State these days, I would think. We'll stay with college football here, guys. On The Athletic, Bruce Feldman and Antonio Morales put together a survey with more than 25 different head coaches, assistant coaches, and staffers from the sport. And I wanted to grab one of the questions here from it. Among them, they asked, if every coaching job opened up tomorrow, which one would you want? The school that was named the most, that would be the Texas Longhorns. They were followed by Georgia and Ohio State, and then Notre Dame and LSU were also brought up after those first 3 schools.
What order were Notre Dame and LSU in?
It just, all it said was they
According
each were
to Brian
mentioned.
Kelly.
Yeah, wow. I can't help but think of the famous Josh Pate tweet that I will pull up as we speak here. But, Tito, there's probably no single best job in the sport, and I think that answer has changed a lot in the last couple of years because Indiana certainly wouldn't have been near that list.
Right.
But I think, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, LSU, you could certainly throw a few more in there, but those 5 would certainly be amongst the top 10. Even as much as the game has changed in the NIL era.
I think so. I can get on board with Texas. I can get on board with Georgia, get on board with Ohio State and Notre Dame. LSU, look, I know there's a lot of built-in advantages there at LSU with the fact that you're the big school in the state and you've got the whole state to yourself pretty much. So
what makes it not as good?
You know what, Bob? I'm trying to think of it outside the box. And
You're out. How about think of it outside the boot?
I can do outside the boot too, Bob. That's a good call. I just think that they should have been better under Brian Kelly with all these advantages and whatnot they have.
I would say that's true.
And so I need to see Lane Kiffin do it there before I'll recognize it as one of the most top 5 desirable
jobs. You realize
jobs.
they had 3 coaches in a row win national championships.
I do. I
realize
that.
You know how many programs have had that?
None have done that. I don't think. Have they? 3 consecutive coaches winning national championships? What? Who else am I thinking of? What am I missing, Bob? Who am I missing? Is that easy? Bodie, is that easy?
3 different coaches winning a title at a school?
Consecutively.
I don't think so.
I can't think of one.
Oh, now, yeah. Sorry, yeah. The one we got right here in Columbus. Tressel, Day, Meyer.
Right. I was going back. I was thinking Woody first, and that's where I was going. I didn't go Kurt. I went backwards. I went Woody. I said, wait, it wasn't Woody. You're right, Bob. That's fair. Yeah. I didn't think of that one. I take it for granted.
I don't know if Miami had it with
they had Schnellenberger,
Johnson. I don't.
Johnson replaced him, and then who replaced Johnson? Was replaced by the dude Dennis Erickson, right?
I don't know.
I think Erickson was replaced by. I don't think Erickson won one.
Let's see. So Schnellenberger won one, right?
Yep.
In '83.
Johnson.
Then Jimmy. Then Erickson.
Erickson did win one.
Yeah.
So that's the answer.
That's the list right there.
That's the list.
Yeah.
3.
Those are the 3. So if you're on that list,
yeah,
Miami's a little bit more unique.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 2, if you're going to tell me that those aren't top 5 jobs, I'm going to tell you that when you have 3 coaches in the world, or 3 coaches in a row that can win it, especially at LSU,
right?
And you have Ed Orgeron walking through there, who is, I mean, that's just safe to say. I mean, he's not exactly
a Hummer.
Yeah, he's not Newt Rockney or he's not inventing the forward pass.
Right.
You can win one with him. I think it's safe to say you can win one with just about anyone. Unless you're Brian Kelly.
Unless you're Brian Kelly. But you're Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly looked at Orgeron and said, if that idiot can win one, I should be able to.
Yeah, you would think.
That said, grab my beer.
Yeah. This was Josh Pate on November 29th, 2021 at 8:04 p.m. on the Go 24/7, which is Go spelled Geaux, talking LSU, Brian Kelly, and whatnot. We discussed this name on this very board several weeks back, and I told you he'd be my ideal candidate, but I never believed it was possible. Apparently, it was possible. If Woodward, the LSU AD, closes this, it's beyond a grand slam. I have listened to the doubters and have yet to hear a logical reason why LSU folks shouldn't be over the moon excited about this. Here we go. This is the best part. Brian Kelly has essentially been trying to compete in the Daytona 500 with a Prius, given the limitations at Notre Dame relative to college football's Tier 1. To even have them consistently in the college football playoff conversation has been incredible. If you want to know how incredible it was, keep an eye on the program once he leaves. I've kept an eye on it, Bob. I think Marcus Freeman's doing a pretty fine job there.
That didn't age all that well.
It didn't, from both angles, really. He kind of just whiffed on all of it. I think the Irish have been in pretty good shape.
One thing if Notre Dame struggled.
Yeah, because at least you could say, like, well, see, he's not completely wrong, but it's like, actually, Brian Kelly was getting fired as Notre Dame was in the midst of
one team is made
playing in the title game, and
yes,
they should have been in the playoff last year again, too.
Another team has not made any of them.
Not really even that close either.
No.
I got about a minute left here, guys. Mention it off the top of the show there, Tito. Bam Adebayo is now the second leading scorer in a single game in NBA history. As a fan of the NBA, you could have probably given me 100 names or 100 guesses to say who would score 83 points in a game before last night, and he probably would not have been one of the guys I would have guessed. 83 points in the Heat's 150-129 win over the Washington Wizards. He went 20 of 43 from the field, 7 of 22 from downtown, 36 of 43 from the free throw line. His 83 points are now, of course, second total to Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points in a game back in 1962. And how about this?
When they said when he was second all time in the NBA to Wilt Chamberlain, I was like, is he getting close to 20?
Hey, he might now. Although I think he is married to a WNBA superstar. But hey, you never know. Don't let those limitations hold you back. I did see this morning, too. His previous two career highs in a single game, 41 points and 38 points. So he beat that last night in just a single game because, of course, quick math there, 41 and 38 equals 79. So
there we go.
Good for you, Bam.
Yes, he had 31 points in the first quarter and then kept on scoring. By the way, Bob, they got vindication here from the chat.
I'm waiting for this.
Okay.
I know exactly what they're going to say, but continue.
Luke Fickell coached.
I thought he was interim coach.
Okay.
Doesn't count.
Right.
I knew that was going to come in there.
Okay.
That doesn't constitute it.
Coming up next, Ryan Day spoke yesterday after the first spring practice. We'll do that next. Morning Juice.
While serving in Vietnam, a grenade took my ability to see. Today, I'm a sculptor. Now, my fingers are my eyes. I'm Michael Naranjo. As a veteran, I know the challenges of life can be great. In my art, turning a lump of clay into something beautiful, that is worth doing. Life is like that. We each must use what we can to make things better.
DAV helps veterans like Michael get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year in life-changing ways.
Now, I show others how they can create something with their own hands. I know it can do a lot of good. With support from DAV, more veterans can shape their lives into a thing of beauty. My victory is bringing beauty into the world.
Michael Naranjo, may your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow. Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
I slept in a lot of different rooms, different beds, but none of them really felt like mine.
I spent 14 years in foster care, mostly in group homes. And I never had much stuff because I always had to be ready to move. Why get things if you just have to let them go?
There are more than 100,000 children in foster care waiting to be adopted. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is working to help find them a forever family and a permanent home of their own.
Now I have my own room with walls that tell my story. I love hanging out in here. I play dress up with my sisters and I sing and make videos. But the best part? Knowing I'll always have a place to go and a family that loves and supports me.
If you have room in your home or your heart, see how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
Proud to be your go-to sports addiction.
WBNS, WBNS FM, HD3 Columbus.
The Fan 3, Ohio's sports destination. One man is a national champion, NFL veteran, and local business leader. The other man is Tito. This is Morning Juice.
Sponsored by Riverside Bank of Dublin.
Here's Bobby and Tito.
Do you need a bank that truly values local business in this town? The opportunity to work alongside them as partners, whether you're a small business or a large operation, Riverside Bank of Dublin has the right tools for the job. Riverside Bank of Dublin has the experience of working right here in Central Ohio. They understand the business climate in our area and will help you reach your goals. So whether you need an SBA loan to get your business off the ground, a line of credit to keep your business running smoothly, or equipment financing to get your business up to scale, Riverside Bank will tailor a solution that fits your needs. Visit them at riverside.bank or stop in to get to know them at 6300 France Road. Riverside Bank of Dublin, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
I know in the next segment, Bob, we'll have Austin Ward on. He was also
A Ward Sports.
Yes, he was also out there at practice. We'll get his view of things, but I want to get yours. Do you have like a helicopter view of things? What did you see yesterday? What did anything stand out to you yesterday and what you were watching?
Yeah, trying to figure out who is who.
Yeah.
I think everybody will tell you that. You got a lot of new guys, and then of the guys who have returned, a lot of them changed numbers. And so I'm trying to figure out who the hell is who just based upon like how they run and how they move. And I'm like, I was trying to figure out who was playing in the secondary.
Right.
And I'm like, I think that's Roker. But Roker was 28 last year. That guy is wearing number 10, but he seems to move in a similar way. I don't know who number 10 would be this year. And it turned out that it was Roker. I felt good about that being able to. You nailed
it?
Well, you can just watch how people run, how they bend, and how they move. And everyone's kind of idiosyncratic in that way. I know this, Jason Smith is rocking number 3, so that's definitely not Lorenzo Styles. I mean, he plays defensive tackle.
A little different
size. 330 pounds. That 3, the white space around the 3
stretches out pretty good.
It does. It's looking a little different. And that KJ Kenyatta Jackson's wearing number 2. Like, there's just guys that are moving around in different numbers. So, yeah. But I thought it looked it was probably sloppier than Ryan would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
But you had 51 new guys. You're having people who have never practiced here. So many of them, you're trying to get into some of these drills and be efficient and get a lot of reps in. And, yeah, there's just a lot there to it.
So now they don't practice till after spring break, right?
They practice Thursday.
Oh, I thought that on the schedule it was sent out. It said March 24th, I thought, the one I saw, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe that's the next availability.
Oh, okay, availability might be. Okay, that might be what it is. You mentioned all the new players, and here's Ryan Day talking about having those new players in there. 51 total, I believe, was the number, and building a team.
With half the team being new, there's a camaraderie being built right now that's important. And, true love and brotherhood is when, your brother makes a play and you're just as happy for him as if you made the play yourself. I mean, the guy that I use all the time is Travion. When Quinshon would score a touchdown, he was more happy for Quinshon than he was for his own self. And what happened, that all came back to him in the end. And if we have that same type of mentality into the season, then we'll have a chance. But so much of that happens in the weight room. But I told the guys right here, I said, you only got 14 left. You only got 15 in the spring. So these things go fast. We got to do a great job on the off days of making the corrections, but also spending time in the building and connecting with the guys on the team. Because, to your point, the connection of the team will be important, which we know in today's game is something that is different than what it's been in the past. Usually, you would grow up with these guys in year 3 and year 4, and you've been with them for 2 and 3 and 4, sometimes 5 years. That's not really the case anymore because of the turnover we're seeing, because of the structure, everything. So it is a big challenge, but I really like this team. I like the guys. I like their energy. I like their competitiveness, their seriousness. It's a mature group, but we haven't been together very long, so we got work to do.
Interesting, Bob. You mentioned the thing about you not necessarily knowing who different players were because their numbers change. Day kind of said something to the same effect in the press conference, where like he said,
he didn't know. I mean, they're working on their same thing. Like, you think Ryan Day's concerned with the number orientation? Like, guys, can we do this? Can we do this? Yeah, right. yeah. But until you're like seeing it and trying to recognize, like, boom, that's number such and such. That's them. This is them. Like, it's hard to keep all that, clean in your brain.
Why wouldn't OSU give each media member like a list with the players and their numbers?
You mean a roster?
Yeah, like
they did.
With the numbers you saw out there?
Yeah, they passed one out yesterday. But still, like, that's a list of 100 guys.
I got you.
51 guys you don't know, and probably another 10 or 12 change numbers.
I got you.
So there's 60 plus players that you've got to figure out. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe you're smarter than I am, Jeff, but I can't scroll through that stuff that quickly and identify on the field that'll play the last 4 to 6 seconds and then find them correspondingly on a chart when I'm trying to find like multiple guys at a time.
If I'm smarter than you, Bob, I'm not going to bring it up. But another thing that was brought up yesterday, though, was the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. And Ryan Day then spoke about why he brought in Arthur Smith from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, every year is a different dynamic. So whether it's the guys on the offense or the guys on the defense, and what you have, and everything comes into play. Recruiting comes into play, dynamics come into play, and so every year we try to do what we can to figure out what went on the year before or the year before that, and try to project what we need in that moment. And Arthur seemed like the right fit. The other part that was really different for us is when they changed the rule in terms of number of coaches. We now have Cortez coaching the wide receivers, but we also have Arthur as the offense coordinator. So it's it's a +1 there, and that was a change. And so that's a little bit more like an NFL operation, just in terms of how we structured that. And I got to give Ross and the board credit for allowing us to do that, because that was a whole nother position, and knowing how important that is. And we spent a lot of time talking about development here and how we develop our guys. So if I'm a recruit and I come in and I have Matt Patricia on offense and Arthur Smith Arthur on offense and Matt on defense, I know I'm going to get, coached like an NFL team, like an NFL organization. And if you come and watch practice like a lot of recruits did today, or you guys got a chance to see some of that's an NFL practice right there. So that, guys know that they're going to have an opportunity to develop and be ready to step into these roles. And that's a big part of recruiting nowadays, because it has changed. NIL is a big part of recruiting, but still these guys want to get developed. And for guys who want to look at the long-term goals and where they want to be in 5 to 10 to 20 years down the road, I think it gives us an edge because of our history, what we've done, and the type of people that's in the building. So all of that comes into play when making these hires.
Educate me, Bob. He said you looked at that, it was an NFL practice.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and a typical OSU practice?
What he's saying is you have a designated wide receiver coach and a designated offensive coordinator. It's really hard to call plays and coach a position at the same time.
Okay.
And so that's why Devin Jordan, who helped out Brian Hartline, Keenan Bailey prior to that, before taking the tight ends job, like, you've got to have guys that you really trust to be able to help, because you can't call plays, look at the whole offense or look at the whole defense and coach a position group. Like, they've had that done in the past, and it can be done, but it's not nearly as effective or as efficient. And so that's where you start to gain that edge, where guys are getting developed. When you have multiple guys working with the position group, you can have multiple guys watching the different positions, to where you have one guy watching this guy, another guy watching that guy. So they're getting instant feedback and coaching, and they're going to be getting better because of it.
I'll play one more clip here, Ryan Day, or at least one more about Arthur Smith. Ryan Day talking about what Smith brings scheme-wise to the team.
He's been around it before. He knows how to run the football. He sees it that way, but he also really knows how to throw the football well. I mean, he's when you look at where he's had his meetings in all of his career, he's always with the quarterbacks. But he was an offensive lineman at heart, so he knows how it all comes together. And the way that he teaches the quarterbacks too in the run game is he's the run game coordinator, and he's making the checks based on what's going on, and and it has to equate numbers. But he really has a great feel for the passing game as well. And it was interesting just listening to him. He's got a great history. He's a great storyteller, and even just like in the last year, working with Aaron Rodgers and his background and all the things that he learned from him. So it's been great to be around him and throw different ideas off of him, and him also learn the college game, because it is a little bit different. And then I know the guys in that room are learning a lot from him.
I found that comment about Rodgers interesting, and I shouldn't be surprised by it. But I guess you're right. If you're working with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, with the history, with the experience he has, an OC can pick up on some things, learning from Aaron Rodgers. Usually, I think it's the other way around. Like, most of the time, it's the other way around, where it's like the OC is teaching them, and I found that
Rodgers played for 2 decades.
Yeah,
and he's teaching them about ayahuasca, darkness retreats,
right.
Different conspiracy theories, probably some aliens. I mean, that was the best conversation I had with Arthur Smith, was going down that rabbit hole. He was, after we got done talking about football and him challenging me to teach him some different things. And Aaron was a big why guy, because he's like, and the reality is, like, if you can't explain the why, then you really don't know. You don't understand it. Like, if I ask you, why are we this is what we're going to do, well, tell me why that works, and why this is good to attack this, why this is the way that you chose to go. And if you can't explain that, then you really don't know. And so then once they get done with that, it's like, well, why do you think there aren't aliens out there?
Right.
Why do you think?
Why not?
Mother Iowa doesn't work and bring you in? Why would you think that a week in the darkness wouldn't make you more in touch with your other senses?
Have you spent much time talking to Arthur Smith?
Yeah, we talked for about an hour, like the first couple of days. We have
a
lot. There's a lot of people that we know, like transitory throughout the NFL, that, I know this guy, that guy. He spent a ton of time with Vrabes, so like that was a topic of conversation as well.
When you and I interviewed Matt Patricia last year at practice, when we had him out there, and I told you afterward that it was a different Matt Patricia than I expected, just based on what I'd seen of him on the sidelines with the Lions and things like that. He was so engaging, and just a great personality, and he was outgoing and all those things I didn't.
Some of that is the difference between being a head coach and being an assistant, and the pressure, the responsibility that you have to wear. Some of that's the misconception of how people are portrayed by the media. So you don't always believe everything you hear or see.
Is there anything like that, though, surprising about Arthur Smith to you?
I don't know if he's as polarizing as Matt Patricia potentially was. I mean, Arthur Smith actually was playing in North Carolina when I visited down there, and we started talking about my host and what we were doing, and I didn't realize. I thought that there was some carryover, but we knew a bunch of similar guys, and so I kind of had an idea of what I was getting. I mean, I knew Matt Patricia was a good man. People tried to convince me otherwise. I'm like, just because you saw that on TV, there's a lot of things you see on TV that aren't real, so don't believe it all.
Well, I don't know about most stuff on TV is real, I think. Here is Ryan Day talking about finding leaders and building a culture.
I think every year is a little different, but a part of what you just said was, I don't think anybody realizes how many guys here over the last, 7 years have left after 3. I don't know if maybe there's a program that's had more guys leave after 3 years. Maybe someone can do some research, but we've had a lot, and really the guys who are all being considered like first rounders right now, I consider Sonny a 3 and done because of the reclassification. But when you look at Carnell, when you look at Caleb, when you look at K-Mac, when you look at Arvell and Sonny, those guys are really 3-year guys. So you're losing all that experience. Now, if they were 4th and 5th year seniors, naturally you just see some guys step into those roles. But when you lose those guys, man, it makes a big difference. And 2 years ago, when you saw, Jack and JT and Tyleek and Cody and some of these guys, Lathan, come back, they were already within the program, and we were veteran that way. When you see guys who are going to be seniors walk out the door, the first thing you got to do is you got to get some more veteran guys in that room, or else you're just constantly young. I felt like we were a little young this year, quite honest. And so when you go through it and you get some more senior guys in there, it's just a different approach. And we felt like we needed that. So I think when you look at the guys who actually left and the guys that came in, I think there's a significant matrix out there, or some sort of analytic that shows, in terms of how our number of games played and age gap went up maybe a year and a half or 2 years. And that was by design for sure, because we felt like when those guys were walking out the door, we better replace them with some more veteran guys. Now, that being said, they have to be the right guys, and they have to fit what we do and believe in our culture. So all those things are into consideration. Now, each year it's a little different based on what you have in the room.
I was surprised to hear him say he thought the team was a little young last year. I never thought of the team as a young team.
Why is that? They lost 8 starters on defense.
They did, I know, but
they
they
had 4 seniors, defensive linemen.
I understand, but they had a lot of guys who had experience, so that were coming back through with the offensive line with all the injuries they had. I'm just saying, Bob. I was just surprised to hear him say. I'm not saying it's not right, but I never looked at Ohio State last year and thought, wow, this is a young team. You know what I mean? This team is younger than it should be. Did you feel that way?
Oh, I came out and said that in the spring. It's after spring ball, I go, this team might be more talented, but they're much more inexperienced.
Yeah.
Like they were a younger squad. I mean, it was Arvell Reese's first year as a starter. It was Caden McDonald's first year as a starter. Caden Curry's first year as a starter. There was a lot of times it was guys' first year of doing something. So even the guys that were older hadn't really played a ton. They'd played a decent amount, but they hadn't really been the lead guy at their position. So, yes, they were very young.
Ryan Day also.
Brandon Ennis, first-year starter. Carnell Tate, second-year starter, but a junior. J.J. Smith, second-year starter, but a sophomore. First-year starting quarterback. 2 new running backs.
Yeah.
Phil Daniels hadn't played. Whoever was playing, right guard, some stuff up for question. The rest of the positions were on the left side of the offensive line, and center were locked in there, but everything else, and then most of the defense was new.
I believe the first question Ryan got was about Legend Bay and what kind of role he's going to play. Here's what Day had to say.
We'll have to see. Just day one out there, he started running back. He played quarterback in high school, so he has a tremendous skill set, and he's dynamic when the ball's in his hands. We see him as somebody that can play running back and also move out to wide receiver. Sort of like, I wasn't here with Curtis Samuel, but I watched a lot of film when he was here. He kind of reminds me of that style of player. Remember when Xavier Johnson was here, he could play running back or move out to wide receiver. I think we're trying to get a feel for that now because really he played a lot of quarterback in high school, so we're trying to see what best fits him when he gets moving. So today was just a start. You can see him flash, but he's got a lot of football to learn. But it was good to get these guys out here, 51 new faces, so we got a lot of film to watch and get to work on.
Feel vindicated in my assessment of that because when I was watching him play, someone was talking about him. I go, he kind of reminds me of Curtis Samuel, like of what they did with him.
Right.
And then to listen, I heard that clip that, I don't know who was playing that, or maybe I heard it live in the press conference yesterday with them saying that. But what's interesting is Curtis Samuel was twitched up and very explosive. Legend Bay he's got a lot of pop to him, but he's a much more fluid and elusive runner than maybe Curtis is. And so this is going to be interesting to see. I mean, they've got him rolling at running back, like Ryan said now. So I think that's probably a little harder to learn and develop than receiver, but you can still just get the ball easier, but there's like things you have to pick up and blitzes and all that other stuff. But I'm curious to see how they choose to deploy him because I think he might be the best overall athlete on the team.
Really?
He's pretty good.
Is he like 5'10", 5'11", somewhere in there?
Yeah, he's not overly tall.
Right.
But he's good.
All right. Well, yeah, that's one of the things to look forward to as Ohio State spring practices roll on and as we get closer and closer to the season. Yesterday the first practice and practice again Thursday, and then spring break takes over after that for Ohio State. All right, coming up next, Austin Ward will tell us what he saw yesterday at Ohio State's football practice. This is Morning Juice.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country. and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Around the world, Children International and friends like you are giving children in poverty a chance to grow and thrive, to be healthy, to succeed in school, and achieve great things. How do we do it? In the best way possible, by helping ensure access to healthcare, nutrition, and educational opportunities. And most importantly, by empowering youths and their families to get out of poverty and into employment through life skills, computer, and job training. The very tools they need to break the cycle of poverty and build futures full of promise. Because every child deserves a chance to realize their full and best potential. Learn more about how Children International is empowering children and families by going to children.org today. That's children.org.
You know what hope is? Hope is action. Carving a path forward, even when it's hard.
And kids who still know how to dream. They're the best pathfinders of all.
So at Child Fund, hope means helping millions of children living in poverty worldwide to grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and so all those good things can come true for them. Safe.
And that means safe at home, safe at school, and safe online.
Hope means walking this path together. All of us. Because when we work together, we can do so much more.
That's right. Hope includes you.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
To learn how Child Fund works with children in 23 countries to help them achieve their full potential, visit childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
Attack and dominate. You're locked into Morning Juice.
Sponsored by Riverside Bank of Dublin.
Here's Bobby and Tito.
All right. It's a Wednesday. It's 7:20-ish. Time for this guy.
A guy who considers himself the mayor of Laramie, Wyoming, who holds the shuffleboard record at the Ranger, and most impressive, the commissioner of the Central Ohio Two-Man Scramble League. Here's Austin Ward.
Good morning, Austin. How excited were you yesterday to be there for a football practice?
I was extremely excited, Tito. It was, I think, one of the more anticipated spring camps that I've covered at Ohio State, with all of the new faces, both on the coaching staff and certainly on the roster. You know, Ryan Day had promised we're going to need that flip card to keep track of all 51 new faces that were out there through both recruitment and transfer portal pickups and preferred walk-ons and everything else that was going on. That was true. Even Berm, my colleague, who's said he's never needed one on the first day of a spring camp, had to check it within the first 10 minutes. Like, who is that? Who's turning heads? Which is also a reminder of how much athleticism is on that flip card and on that roster in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, because those guys were catching eyes and you needed to know who they were. But I think it's going to be a really fun camp. Glad that we got to spend the first hour of it watching practice on Tuesday, and really fired up to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, watching that dynamic warm-up got you really excited and invigorated. Austin,
5 periods, Bob.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to see a little bit of the stuff at the beginning, some routes on air. Anything surprising that you saw, you know, when people were lining up, where they were lining up, what groups they were potentially with?
Nothing that was too unexpected. I think, interestingly enough, Bob, seeing guys that we knew were hurt and were going to be limited throughout camp, like lining up in these acclimation practices where you don't get hit, was like, oh, we get bad information. Were we wrong about that? Because like Riley Pettijohn was out there to at least, you know, go through some of the motions early on. You had Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, at least with the running backs, through individual drills. Same deal. Josh Padilla, Bennett Christian, a couple other guys that we don't expect and won't be full participants once Ohio State gets back from spring break. But running through that and getting, you know, seeing who is going to contribute and won't be able to play fully throughout spring camp is interesting. As you and I have talked about before, it's not a deal breaker. It's not insurmountable if you miss those reps, but they are opportunities for other guys to make the most of them and build a case for that playing time. So, looking at, what that would mean for TJ Alford in comparison to Riley Pettijohn or Gabe Van Sickle in relation to Josh Padilla, I think is going to be also another subplot to watch. But, and I don't know if this counts as a surprise, but I think the guy that flashed the most in that 1 hour window that we had was Christian Allegro from Wisconsin, the Wisconsin transfer. He made 2 really nice plays in a red zone passing half field situation that I think served as a reminder. If there was a notion that he was just coming in to be an edge guy, that's not going to be the case. Both James Laurinaitis and Larry Johnson, with Matt Patricia at the top, are going to find a lot of different ways to use him. He's got a versatile skill set. He's got a big frame. He can really move. He can cover and get after the passer. And I think he's another guy that you just look at, that he was at the top of Ohio State's transfer portal board for a reason, and they are going to use him.
Did you see anything like outstanding, like it really stood out with Chris Henry Jr.?
No, I did not, Tito. That's day one. And I think we'd be better served not putting Jeremiah Smith expectations on Chris Henry Jr. Ryan Day talked about him making a play on a post in this press conference after practice was over.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I look at this wide receiver group and even the years past with some of these 5 stars and touted wide receivers, they all pop at different times. And, for someone like, Marvin Harrison, it didn't really happen until the end of that freshman year and carrying into the sophomore year. Garrett Wilson, 8-9 games. Chris Olave, game 11, game 12. I don't think that Chris Henry Jr. is going to be a day one impact superstar like Jeremiah Smith. And, if I'm wrong about that, I will be the first to admit it and put my hand up and say he exceeded these expectations, and Ohio State has done it again. There's another Jeremiah on the way. But I am of the mindset personally that we're not doing him any favor by comparing Chris Henry Jr. to Jeremiah Smith. And honestly, as we sit here again after just one day, I think it would be in his best interest if he is just Jeremiah's backup as a true freshman. And, Devin McHugh and Kyle Parker and Brandon Ennis have all played college football now at different levels for all 3 of them and with different levels of success. But they have really impressive and dynamic skill sets. And they're in a spot there where Ohio State, it may sound crazy given the financial investment that they've made in Chris Henry Jr. and what he may well become. They don't need Chris Henry Jr. to be Jeremiah Smith. They don't need him to be Carnell Tate. And maybe I'll be wrong about that too, but I think that there's a lot to like about those other 4 guys that are already there, plus Phillip Bell, maybe Desi Jones. So we'll see what this looks like. But I personally, Tito, would just be sort of in a wait-and-see mode on Chris Henry.
Thoughts on how they were deploying the offensive line? How much did you get a chance to see, if any of that? Austin, those guys lining up, Gabe Van Sickle being at that right guard spot. I think Ian Moore was playing some right tackle with the second group. Any surprises in there, and do you think that that's a static situation or more fluid, if you will?
Yeah, I definitely think it will have some liquid qualities, Bob. I think all spring camps will have this, even with veteran offensive lines, where you're going to experiment. And Tyler Bone talks a lot about having primary and secondary positions, and so you'll see, I think, when Josh Padilla is healthy, the ability to play both guard and center. You'll see, we know Austin Sareveld has started games at both guard and tackle for Ohio State. Philip Daniels has long been talked about as someone who could be in multiple spots, although, as Ryan Day described it after practice, he thinks that Austin Sareveld is going to be largely at tackle, and that Philip Daniels probably won't move that much throughout camp either. Now, I do think that it will be subject to what Ian Moore does and how much he might elevate. And really Carter Lowe can fit in that conversation as well. When we got a peak, and it was only a peak, I don't know if it stayed that way after we went into the team room or not, but, Austin Sareveld was still at left tackle, Philip Daniels was at right tackle with that what appeared to be the first group. Carter Lowe was at left tackle, and Ian Moore was at right tackle when we saw those twos. I would expect there will be movement throughout camp, but and it's easiest, I guess, to default if Josh Padilla is injured again or recovering from something in the offseason. I think people would have been surprised or maybe even distraught that was the exact same group that started against Miami in the first half that was out there for the first day of practice. But I don't think it should come as a surprise. They're all experienced players. Now, Gabe Van Sickles had a very limited sample size, some of it very encouraging and some of it troubling a little bit on those 2 drives to start against Miami. But, when you bring back this group for a reason, it's because you think that they have a proven track record and a high ceiling with another year of development. So I know that it's in the conversation to make other moves and that Ian Moore could force his way into the lineup and Austin Sareveld could move, Philip Daniels could move. The starting point is going to be with the veterans, and it'll be up to the other guys to, demand a change in that conversation. But I don't think that Austin Sareveld or Philip Daniels will be moved easily as well.
He is one half of The Beat with Austin and Berm. Catch the podcast on 10 TV Plus or anywhere you get your podcasts. I don't know. You've done this for a few years now. I would imagine most of these first practices are pretty similar. You don't see a lot. You get to see some, but there's not a whole lot there. So I wonder though, in your I'm curious like Whiskers, in the next time you have a chance to watch practice, is there something that you will be looking for specifically based on what you saw yesterday?
Yeah, so we kind of divide and conquer when we have the 1 hour. So I spent almost all of my time watching the offensive guys on Tuesday, and then I will flip over Tito to get a closer look at the defense. I love it when there are team competitive situations like in the red zone and you get to do both at once. That's really helpful because when I come talk to you guys on a Wednesday morning after the practice, I can't just only weigh in on the offense. I need to be able to see as much as possible with the time that I have. But so I am appreciative that I'll be able to balance that out a little bit. And I'd like to, see some more of because it's easy to check the physical development. And I thought Edric Houston looked like several $1 million on Tuesday morning in the Woody. James Smith is a pretty imposing guy as well. We know what Ohio State has to do with the defensive tackles and the interior defensive linemen. Kenyatta Jackson has changed his body a little bit, and we won't see them in competitive pass rush situations, so it gets a little difficult. But I'd like to see a little bit more in the secondary as well. I think those guys are, Dominic Kelly looks like a younger version of IGB at 6'2". They really might have got a real bargain or a steal or just outright theft maybe from Georgia with that young cornerback to add to Devin Sanchez and Jermaine Matthews. Saw Terry Moore moving around a little bit. The safeties didn't look like there were any ill effects of the ACL from a year and a half ago now at this point at Duke. Earl Little, he certainly looks like an Ohio State defensive back. But just that's the side of the ball, Tito, where there are going to be have to be new starters. You're replacing 8 guys. You're replacing first-round NFL draft picks. So they're going to command a lot of attention, and then that will carry over beyond just tomorrow, but into Student Appreciation Day and Coaches Clinic and spring game after that. How is this all going to look? Who's going to be where? And the best part about that for Ohio State is at the top is that Matt Patricia is in the fold and is the highest paid coach in college, highest paid coordinator in college football as we thought that he might be.
So a lot has been made of Legend Bay and what he was able to do and what he kind of looked like out there. Since, Austin, you were down there gazing on the offense, did you see any explosive traits? Ryan compared him to a Curtis Samuel. I would say he's similar in how you deploy him, different in maybe his elusiveness and athleticism from Curtis. What were your thoughts, and does he have a chance to live up to his namesake?
Well, he is explosive, and there is no denying when he gets up ahead of steam that he has the extraordinary traits and athleticism that you want. And I know that that's where that conversation is coming from. And I say it all the time. Ryan Day doesn't make mistakes when he's talking into a live microphone, and he's not prone to hyperbole. So when he's making those comparisons, that's now Tyreek Hill and Curtis Samuel in the span of 2 public appearances that Legend Bay has been compared to by the Ohio State coach. And I do think you can see why. Now, he hasn't been hit yet. He has just one practice where he had a chance to run away from a defender who wasn't allowed to hit him, or he was running, basically tracks on air. I will say that Carlos Lachlan was also showing some explosiveness because I think he's trying to get some of the honeymoon period over with the praise that's coming Legend Bay's way. I was watching the running backs during their individual drill and during some ball security stuff, and there was one player in particular that was getting the full Carlos Lachlan experience in the line, and it was Legend Bay. And it was verbal pyrotechnics that you could not ignore. And, Bob, you could look at it from 2 ways, right? You're going to coach the guys the hardest that you have the most expectations for. You want to get them out. Or you're trying to de-recruit some guys and make them realize that it might not be as easy for them. Maybe it's a combination of both. Can be, right? But that's Legend Bay was getting that on day one because I do think there has to be some reminder that there is a very long way to go before he can contribute to this team.
One of the things Ryan Day was talking about yesterday in the press conference, heaping praise upon Maradi, Body by Maradi, and what he's able to do with these guys. How he sees that the changes in them from year to year, or from the first time he sees them in spring practice. Did any other players, I know you had mentioned Houston, but did any other players look like noticeably different to you than the last time you saw them?
I think really the one that doesn't look dramatically different, I think, is going to be the primary topic of conversation because Julian saying it didn't, just to the naked eye, it didn't look crazy different, where everywhere else it's like you can track it pretty easily. Some guys were adding weight. I think Kenyatta Jackson was maybe slimming down a little bit. I think the ones that really turned heads were how newcomers look different than they did on film, which I think back to C.J. Donaldson's offseason a year ago or Will Howard 2 years ago. When you get these veteran players who know what it takes to work, but then find out that there's a different kind of work when they leave a place like Kansas State or West Virginia and get the level of resources and support that you have with not just Mickey Maradi or Schlegs, but the health and nutrition staff or recovery team or equipment staff, all these things, and then you unlock another level of gear. Jacoby Jackson, the former Florida running back, that's a grown man, and I think he has taken full advantage of the last 2 months being in the Woody. Kyle Parker and Devin McEwen both. Maybe Kyle Parker more than McEwen. Look, the upper body is a lot stouter than I thought it would be. Now McEwen, it's got some of that, Bob, and McEwen though, for some of the early expectations on Legend Bay, I think Devin McEwen is already proven that he can do some of the things that you would use Legend Bay for, and he's also got that same dazzling speed. If we're talking about guys who just turned heads, running, getting the football in their hands, and they had a little, defensive pursuit drill, Devin McEwen can absolutely scoot, and I'm pretty enamored by what that could look like for the Ohio State offense, because if we're going to use these comparisons from 8 or 9 years ago, I think Devin McEwen could really be a Paris Campbell-like weapon for Ohio State. And, I think we've seen Ohio State's offense change a little bit, the passing attack and, the way that they used these wide receivers back in the era when they had Paris and Terry McLaurin and Johnny Dixon and KJ Hill and Austin Mack. We saw what I feel like was maybe a more creative and explosive usage of the wide receivers. Devin McEwen, Kyle Parker, Brandon Ennis, certainly Jeremiah, all give you that opportunity again. And I'm really going to be, you say, what else do we want to watch, Tito, throughout spring camp? That's how this passing game might look like an earlier version of the Ryan Day era with his influence and Arthur Smith now in the fold, I think is going to be really intriguing.
Also, I think you should take next week off. You worked hard.
It's great.
You know?
Yeah.
Just we don't have to talk to you next
Except
Wednesday.
for Monday.
Except for Monday. That's
Yeah.
right. Except for Monday, yeah.
Yeah, here's the deal. I like to work, so I'm just going to show up on Monday, and then I'll take the rest of the week off. At Ryan Day's blessing and discretion. A little spring break action after these acclimation periods. Maybe I'll go to Disneyland.
There we go. All right, Austin. Be careful on the teacups. They might make you sick. Thanks so much for the time, buddy. We appreciate it.
See you on Monday.
All right, see you Monday, Austin. Bobby, Emily in the chat said she saw Schlegg's official coach's pick and said it was
his neck
cute.
looks super skinny.
Okay, she said it's cute. Now I'm asking you, do you believe it's cute? And if you did believe it's cute, would you say it's cute?
It is cute because his neck looks really small.
Is it photoshopped?
What does that mean?
Is it enhanced? Like, is his neck really that small?
What do you think? Someone went in there and trimmed it down?
I told him to ask you, Bob. I don't know. You see Schlegg's every day. You said his neck looks really small, like you were surprised.
Yeah, in the picture, it doesn't look as robust as I would have thought.
Okay.
Schlegg's prides himself on a thick cylinder, and that's definitely suboptimal with what he threw out there.
I just didn't know if you see him recently, if you see he still has a thick neck, but it looks thinner there, if there's a reason for that. That's all. Better angle, I guess.
Maybe I've overestimated the girthiness of his neck.
There we go. Okay. That concludes our segment on Schlegel's neck. Coming up next, you will hear from Schlegel, though, in What's Got You Juice, Morning Juice.
People don't realize that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness.
Because there are often no early symptoms, nearly half of those with glaucoma may not even know they have it until vision loss has occurred.
I was diagnosed with normal tension glaucoma in July of 2020. And what we found out at that point was I had already lost 40% of my sight. And you think it only affects people that are, 75 or older, retired, grandparents, and that's not the reality of it.
I didn't think at all glaucoma was going to affect me because I didn't know of anyone that had glaucoma, no one in my family. When you have glaucoma, you can't get back that sight that you lost. And so early detection and treatment is vitally, vitally important.
Don't miss life's most beautiful moments. Schedule an eye exam today.
National Glaucoma Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Learn how to protect your sight at stopglaucoma.org.
Hey there, Jane Lynch here. You want to hear something funny? Too bad. You want to hear something uplifting that will inspire you? Good. Because today, I want to talk to you about Direct Relief, a humanitarian organization that does seriously good work when it counts. Fires, hurricanes, earthquakes. When disaster strikes, Direct Relief immediately shows up with medicines, medical supplies, and everything doctors and nurses need to save lives. Let's ship her out! Every day across the United States and around the world, they're making an enormous difference. If someone needs help, Direct Relief helps. No politics, no red tape. Hey, what you doing over there?
Oh, I'm packing insulin for kids with diabetes.
See, every box here is literally a lifeline for someone in critical need. So check them out at directrelief.org. You might just bring a smile to someone's face.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad, and I feel very proud to be his son.
That was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Bobby's knees hurt from doing battle with some of football's toughest warriors. Tito's knees hurt from begging Bobby to let him host this show.
Oh, pick me! Oh, I know, me!
This is Morning Juice.
All right. We passed Coaster Bob time, Bobby.
Oh, yeah, we passed Coaster Bob time a minute ago. Not a literal minute,
right.
the
Yeah, I know what you
proverbial
mean.
minute. 44 of them.
People in the chat are expressing concern about Bodie's sinuses.
Yeah, all good. I've just had so much pressure in my head the last 5-6 days. I'm really hoping
just drill a little hole in there.
Honestly, Bob, at this point, anything could be better. Unless I am basically laying down, and even then, sometimes it is just killing me. But I'm really hoping the rain kind of can break this today. Not that I want it to get cold again, but I think I might need it to at this point.
There you go.
Yeah, is it's a weather? Is it an impact weather day? Bob is.
I think it is. Yeah. I think
Okay,
you're right on that.
And just so you know, here's your PSA, Bob. The one you didn't think you wanted, but you do need.
You want me on that wall.
Do I?
You need me on that wall.
Franklin, look, it's Wednesday at noon, the tornado test thing, the siren goes off every Wednesday at noon.
I know.
They are not going to do it today.
Why?
Because of the severe weather. They don't want people to get confused and think that might be. So they've said it's not going to go off at noon. If you hear it, that means, well, for me and you, Bob, means go out and take a look at the weather. But for every other person, every other mortal person, to go seek shelter. But yeah, so at noon today, it will not be going off. So if you hear it, that means trouble. I feel very proud of myself for doing that. Let's do what's got you juiced.
What's got you juiced?
Sponsored by Newman Roofing. For all your roofing, gutter, or siding needs, call Newman Roofing today at 614-NEW-ROOF or visit online at newmanroofing.com.
Bob, when you said thanks, Jeff, in the chat, did you mean thanks to me for doing that announcement?
No.
Okay.
Definitely
all right,
not. I don't acknowledge weather impact alerts.
Well, I know, but it was just it was a PSA, though, Bob. It was beyond that. Let's see. It's Wednesday, Bob. I guess that means you will go first.
Yeah, what I'm not juiced about is the weather impact alert that I just got from you, the PSA or whatever it is. I want to thank Jeff Rimmer in his middle half. Nice little compliment on one of our Carpenter HVAC and plumbing vans. So appreciate that, because the folks out there doing some good work, and always appreciate our team doing a great job. So great to see that out of them. Got Class A. We have a guest speaker. Love guest speaker days, Bodie, because you know what that means? I don't have to do
anything.
I don't have to talk. I get to sit there and I get to listen.
Here's this person.
Right.
Here it is. Listen a little bit. I can learn some things. You can learn some things. I'll take some notes. It's always fun to be able to do that. So excited for that here. Yesterday's practice at Ohio State was great. Really enjoyed it. Probably not as crisp as what Ryan would have liked, but it's the first practice of spring. And so you come off a season where you're like running downhill and you've got, 100 and some practices under your belt. Everybody knows what's going on. And then to go from that to day one with 51 new players is a lot. But look, they've got some very talented guys out there. I'm excited to see how they're going to look, what they're ultimately going to do, and how they're going to continue to develop this team moving forward is a very, very exciting prospect. So juiced about that, and the fact that I got a chance to watch just about all of it. I ran and lifted during the very beginning. I don't go out there when the media is out there watching like the stretching, because I don't need
not a lot of insight on that.
I don't need to see that. So
I have to imagine 51 guys.
It's a lot.
Probably 20 years ago, before early enrollees became like a huge thing. I mean, that was probably a 4 years worth, right? Give or take.
Oh yeah, that's at least 3. I mean, it's a lot. And so guys trying to learn who was out there, asking some of the guys, who was out there with you? And not quite sure, trying to figure that out. So there's just challenges, and everybody's got to deal with it. It's a new era, trying to figure all this out. So all that's got me juiced. And then I did XM. I was doing XM last night, and I normally go on from 3 to 6. Got on. They said, "Hey, we only have a 2-hour show today." That was the
deal.
That was the gift that kept on giving, Clark. Right there. I really needed that. And other juices, my wife, I think she's got all the kids packed up for spring break already. So
nice.
Excited about that. They'll be leaving on Friday. So I told them, you need to have all your crap together for me to take, and because we're meeting them down there. So make sure it gets done sooner rather than later. I might try to get packed up here maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll see how that goes.
Kids are going ahead of you?
No, my boys are going with me. My daughter and wife have lacrosse in Atlanta, so they're going to be meeting us down there. So that we've got all that going. That's going to be exciting and fun.
Bahamas, right?
St. Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah, so not far. U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay.
Yeah, not far off there.
Nice.
Right by Little St. James. You know what Little St. James is?
I do not.
You should look that up.
Okay.
Is there a
On
big St.
work
James?
computer?
There
or-
might be. Yeah, you could. I mean,
Okay.
has a more popular name by the
Okay.
guy who used to own it.
Okay.
He's dead now.
Is he Mr. Epstein?
I think that's who it would be referred to
Okay.
as. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Good
we're
for
going to
him.
go snorkeling over there. It's supposed to be elite.
Okay.
So excited about that.
Don't vacate any wins, Bob.
I don't know how that vacates anything.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Just don't vacate
We
any
have a
wins.
serial rapist in Crown Heights. I'm sorry, that's my other job. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. Stick and bears.
There we go. So what's Schleig's got to say, Bodes?
I understand getting rid of old clothes that you don't wear because you either gained weight or lost weight and can't fit into them. You go down in the basement, you clean out some, old frames that the glass is broken out. I get it. I got it. I know exactly what that is. And my phone's talking to me because, hey, Siri, what's crapping?
There you go. Schleig's talking about getting rid of the old
I
clothes.
know.
Yeah.
We were one day off. That would have been perfect timing for yesterday. All right, guys, what's got me juiced? Mentioned it a second ago. I pray to God this rain snaps my sinuses out of it because I almost forget what it's like to not have a headache. So that has not been a very fun time. What did not have me juiced last night is the fact that the 7'5" Victor Wembanyama was just looking like Steph Curry. I don't even know how that's possible. It just feels impossible that a guy that big and that long and whatnot just moves the way he can and can shoot it the way he can. And then the stupid officials ejecting Jaylen Brown halfway through the second quarter didn't have me juiced either. What does have me juiced, though, Robert, they say first impressions are everything, or 5 episodes are everything as far as impressions go. We'll see how the story unfolds. But
Coach, you will be, by the end of season 1, you will be like hooked and in.
I feel like I am in the Jon Snow camp. Just seems like the kind of guy
you want to be
lock
around.
arms with. Yeah. A lot of the other folks in the show, not very sure about so far. The Stark family seems like pretty good people. And then past that,
You gonna watch any this week? Are you gonna watch more today, tomorrow?
I'm probably not going to do anything but watch it today, honestly. I haven't gone to the gym in like 4 days because
That's
my
right.
head hurts so
Who cares?
bad.
Just lock on
so
in.
I'm just going to lay in bed, go home, take a nap. Probably,
So you're on episode 5?
Yeah.
So you
4
have-
or 5, I think. I can't, I just pop it up on HBO Max. It's like, you want to watch the next one? I'm
Yeah.
like, of course I do. What number am I on? Doesn't matter. Just going to keep banging these out. So
The day when you complete season 1, and you
Okay.
come in here, I
might try
I'll
to
be
have
able to notice that.
Okay.
I'll be able to probably physically notice it.
I might have to make that an appointment then before you leave for spring break. So hopefully over the next 2 days we can knock that out. So Friday we can.
Even if I'm not here, you'll probably text me.
Okay.
Peyton
You
Pierce
guys got-
texts me like craziest thing I've ever seen.
Craziest thing I've ever
2 seasons later, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened.
That's now the second craziest thing I've ever seen. So that all has me juiced on this Coaster Bob halfway home workday here, Mr. Thitoff. What has you juiced?
Can you make a note to make sure we tell Tyvis afterwards, after the show, that Casey thinks he should try Cardo's on Lockburn because that's who he got in the chat to tell us that. So
I'll let him know.
we got to make sure we let Tyvis know on that one. Don't want to miss out on that opportunity to pass that on to him. Let's see what's got me juiced. It's a great day for basketball. Noon on. Lots of basketball out there to watch. I'm excited about that. The Big Ten tournament. I'm actually really juiced that Ohio State is not playing today.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they got that double bye, which is cool. So watched a little bit yesterday of some
Double
games.
rainbow.
Yes, exactly. It's the end of the rainbow, Bob, don't you?
Listen.
W. But so there's lots of good basketball today, and
Is that
then
a joke or just a?
Yeah,
it's factually accurate and a joke.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
both.
I don't
It's
get
both.
it. Oh,
There you
know
go.
what? Now I
There we
do.
go.
Never mind.
There we go. Feel free to use
I
that buddy, if you
gotcha.
want to. What else has me juiced? My kid's got his second AAU practice tonight. I'm looking forward to that because they really run him ragged and get him tired, which I love. And I had a nice moment with him last night where, he's 9 years old, but it's rare those moments come like, Dad, I need to talk to your dad. Can we sit together? And we had a moment, which we don't have very often, where we're just kind of sitting there talking. I have my arm around him, and he's kind of nestled in a little bit, and it was fun.
Why don't you parent me harder like Mr. Carpenter parents his kids?
It's funny. That's what he said, Bob. I don't know if you were listening in, or maybe you bugged my house. I'm not sure, but that's what he said. Sometimes I dream that he is you. Also, it's got me juiced. The fact we're talking about Ohio State football, and I know it's spring. I get it.
No, it's still fun.
But it's still fun.
I think it's more fun now. It's like, who are all the? It's like,
where's
50
Waldo?
new presents.
Yeah.
It's like, who are all these new guys? Then even some of the old guys have new numbers.
Right.
So it's just, the possibilities feel endless.
Yes. So I'm excited about that and excited to see how this team develops. I'm now excited because Bob thinks I'll get credentialed. So maybe I'll give that a shot then, Bob. That's
all you got to do is ask Chris. Is it Chris? What's his first name? Pantages is his last name. Yeah. It's like contagious with a P. That's what they said. I go, how do you pronounce his last name? And Austin goes, it's Pantages. He goes, it's like contagious, but with a P. I'm
there you go.
Perfect. Because I looked at it, like Pantages. Like, it's a soft G in there? I mean,
who was the quarterback's coach? I think it was that came from Oklahoma State a handful of years ago.
Tim Beck?
No. What was that guy's name? I can't remember. I'll try to find it here real quick. But when I remember he had a last name that was like, oh, is it this or that? And I heard Matty Ice say, oh, it's pronounced just like this. And as soon as I ever sensed it, I was like, oh, I'll see if I can find it here real quick.
I'm trying to see who it would be.
It would have been one of, I think it was like one of Ryan Day's kind of like early hires. I thought it was Oklahoma State. Maybe I'm misremembering that part too. But
Oklahoma State, isn't that where Knowles came from?
Jim Knowles, yeah.
I swore
that
was
a silent
offense.
K.
Yeah. Knowles. Thank you,
Now
Bobby. Now, I would have had that knowledge. It would have been great when I was doing Sports Center updates. I kept calling him Knowles. Thank you to all the juicers for tuning in today. Thank you to Austin Ward for joining us. Tomorrow, Bob.
I found it real quick, Tito. Your sitch.
Oh, yeah, Jim
Matty Ice says it's like your situation. Your sitch. I'm like, all right, I like it.
That's good, yeah. That's why I always avoid ones I don't know. I let the producers say their names. I'm like, even I know it, I'll say, hey, Bodie, what's the name of that player for Duke that got hurt?
Will Pantages, not Chris. Chris Park is the AD. Will Pantages.
There we go.
Glad you pointed that out because I would have really offended.
Nice naming dudes.
I gave him the wrong first name when I reached out to him. Thanks to all the chatters, the juicers. It was a lively chat today, and we appreciate that. And tomorrow, Bob, Albert Breer. I'm just asking. Like, you think what?
Ron Burgundy, probably.
Okay.
I mean, Breer tries to come on. He'll be really busy with free agency.
He will be, yeah.
Hopefully, there's no more rescinded trades or anything else. Or maybe there will be. Great content.
Yeah. And you also know what tomorrow is, Bob. It's a Brody Thursday.
A Thirsty Thursday.
We will have Your Highness on tomorrow as well. That second hour we banging. First hour will be good. Second hour we banging.
Stats class with Your Highness.
There you go. We will do that.
Trains.
Don't do that.
Tell your grandma I said hi.
No,